Let's talk about perfectionism. Let's talk about you being a control freak. Let's talk about you needing everything in your life to be perfect. It needs to look a certain way, doesn't it? Maybe you don't suffer from this as much, you personally, but I promise you that there are elements of perfectionism in your life, even if you wouldn't necessarily categorize yourself as someone that's a perfectionist, because it is within the very nature of what your mind is and how it's fundamentally built, how it exists within us. It tends towards perfectionism, wanting control, wanting to know, wanting things to look a certain way based on preconceived notions, experiences, right? That's what learning is, right? Like past, right? Like your past, you're learning, you're experiencing, you learn to expect things in terms of what happened in the past. You're judging yourself based on this, you're judging others based on these things, and like your mind is very good at categorizing and analyzing and labeling stuff in terms of what it knew in it, from where it stored this memory, this experience. And then things should or shouldn't look a certain way within the context of what your life is. And if it's outside of those bounds of what your mind is analyzing and labeling, then it's off, not good enough. And then the natural inclination is to eventually internalize that. And, oh, it didn't work out for me the way I wanted it to look. That's what perfectionism is. It's, I want it to look a certain way. It has to be perfect. What is perfect? I've done a video on you are perfect within your imperfection and how life itself is perfect, okay? And I've said multiple times that this control that you're seeking, that you're most in control when you let go of control, wanting to control. What in you is wanting to control? It's your mind. It's this egoic thing. It's the me. It's this selfish, me first mind that wants things to appear a certain way. Your likes and your dislikes, your whatever, all part of your personality, all part of your conditioning. That's what the mind is. It's very conditioned. And then how do you relinquish control? Well, that's what faith is, guys. That's what surrender is. That's what non-resistance is. So you have two sides. You have the faith and the non-resistance and the surrender. And then you have this thing in you that wants to control the outcome, that wants it to look a certain way. It's very free will. It's very my POV. It's very my desire, my perfection. And you have a habit. You've created a habit because you're so used to doing this, because I'm sure some of you have, but most haven't dissociated and detached from attachment to their mind. They think that their thoughts are them, and then they themselves want things to look a certain way, and they're not recognizing that it's the mind in them that is clamoring for something to want to be looked a certain way, a perfection. And so what you can do is keep chasing after the carrot on the stick of perfection. You do it in your job, right? Like, I'm a perfectionist. You might even put it on your resume. You're like, I'm a perfectionist. It's a good quality. I'm a perfectionist. It has to meet my standards. Standards, expectations, standards. Well, Darius, it's good to have standards, or else, guys, it's okay to have standards. You go to a restaurant and you have a standard of something, a food, you want it to be good, fine. And then like what you casually label as arbitrarily good or bad, whatever, fine, whatever, okay? It's okay to have standards. But when you keep imposing these self-restrictions, these standards on yourself, then it is inevitable that you're going to keep brushing up against the boundaries of your own self-imposed restrictions and perfections of what you want it to look like. And then every time you fail and don't meet that, you're a failure, and you make yourself feel like shit as a result of it, because you think this arbitrary imagined thought perfection is you and how it should be. Should. Doesn't exist. All of this shit is a very big figment of your imagination. It really is. It really is. So It's a good thing. I go to work and I have standards and I want to be perfect and it's never going to be good enough. And people are trying and trying and trying and like, oh, it's got to be perfect. And they're like racking themselves with like, just like intense trying and like, it has to be good. And you just torment yourself in your mind and you never rest. There's never peace. There's never stillness from it. It's haunting you. This self-perceived perfection in the mind of what something should or shouldn't look like. How is that a way to live, though? You tell me. How is that a way to live? When you look back on your life, when have you felt most fulfilled? When have you felt most free? When have you just kind of lived in the moment, spontaneous and free? When? Is it when you're chasing perfection, or is it when you let go and you just let things happen as they need to happen and you flow with it? You're not resisting it. You're just one with it. That's all spirituality is, guys, is non-resistance. It's really simple, you know? And then you label what resistance is, and then you label what non-resistance is, and then all its various manifestations. Resistance is judging. Resistance is perfectionism. Resistance is mind. The mind, in its very nature, is resistant because it thinks it knows it has. I'm telling you guys, the mind is, when I say it's fixed, it's physical, it's static, it's dogmatic. It has a one little sliver thought of what it thinks it is. And it's never encapsulating the totality of whatever that thing it is that it's trying to label. And within its very nature of it wanting to be perfect is always imperfect in a thought. So you chasing a perfected thought reality is an illusion. And you're chasing after the wind, chasing after yourself in it. You yourself are already whole and perfect, but the mind is always haunting you and it's on top of you and very busy, very imposing, very needing, wanting control, wanting it to look a certain way. That's all very silly. And then that's the resistant part. And then the non-resistant part is free and flowing and loving and expansive and surrendered and faithful. Doesn't have doubt. Where does doubt exist? It exists in the mind. Is your soul, is your truest, most peaceful self doubting anything? Is it wanting it just is perfection automatically. Its natural state of being is perfection. It's aligned with the reality. And so the moment your mind comes in and labels something good or bad or should or shouldn't or want or don't want and control or no control, all that shit's a figment of your imagination. It's all a figment of your mind, which is making itself very real in a specific moment that you're temporarily attached to. Sometimes you're less attached to your mind and sometimes you're more attached to your mind. And that's all it is. It's all mind stuff. I mean, 99% of it is. So suffering is. It's mind. It's mind that's sending in shit into your body and then your body feeding into your mind. And it just, this feedback loop of like, wanting control, wanting this, wanting that, chasing after this, chasing after that. It's a very tiring loop. And then when you identify all of it for what it is, and it's like, oh, all of this weird shit that my mind is doing, that I'm trying to chase in my mind is the root of all my suffering. I look at the mind objectively, I examine it, I do the meditation and the prayer, I really, really hunker down into this stillness that can actually look at the mind for what it is. And you really notice how fundamentally, truly insecure it is, always grasping for control of something it could never control. It's like, in my last few videos, I talk about pride and how there's no control. And then if you look at my earlier videos, it's like you're in control of your life, that you're empowered, you can control your own behavior. And so it's like this paradox, man, always. It's always paradoxical of perfection and imperfection and destiny and free will and control or no control. You are in control of your own behavior to the extent that you may or may not be aware of it and conscious of it in a moment. That's where mastery actually happens, right? You're fully present, you're noticing everything around you, you're noticing your internal state of being, you're noticing your thoughts, you're noticing the external, and there's a balance in those energies. You're not too far outside chasing, reacting constantly. The mind's not always switched on, reacting, labeling, doing, chasing perfection, labeling, should or shouldn't, judging, and all this shit. You relinquish control of that. You relinquish a need for that, this compulsive, like bullshit shit that we do. You let go of that, and then you're just still, okay? That's the true control and true mastery, if we're going to even call it anything. But even that, labeling it that way is fundamentally illusory, okay? Now, why do I say there's also no control and it's all destiny? Because on the highest level, guys, even when you think you're in control and chasing perfection through your own POV, through your own choice and will, you're never fully in control even then. Even then. That's a big illusion too. And that's where the pride settles in, is that you think you're this, I'm so in control of my life and I know things and I do things and I'm the one. Well, yeah. I mean, it is kind of a natural conclusion to draw. Everybody you think out here is in control of their behavior and they're doing what they're doing. They're not. Most of the people out there are not in control of their behavior. Even the most realized person that you think is in control of their behavior and perfect, they're not perfect. There's no perfection, man. And within realizing that there's no perfection is the perfection. Because it encompasses the full spectrum of potentialities and what may or may not be. The holistic physical experience we may have here. While also keeping in account that, like, there is some unseen force, which is also within the physical. The God of everything. The spirit that animates everything. The unseen, which is far greater, like I say. That's keeping tabs of everything and very, very down to the tiniest atom, meticulously aligning things for you and your reality so that you can simply exist. That we all very much take for granted. That we all very much resist all the time through this perfectionism. So, how do you let go of your perfectionism? How do you let go of this compulsive need to control things? You're a control freak. That's what it is. Well, you have to learn what your mind is. I mean, that's what all my videos are about. And you have to learn how to quiet your mind, and you have to learn how to discern, and you have to learn what stillness is and what faith and surrender looks like. And once you've put all those things in its right place, by default, your control perfectionism want shit. You're wanting to control, and perfectionist attitude and disposition will automatically dissolve within itself. You're not trying to, I'm going to stop trying to be a control freak. I'm going to stop trying to be so OCD with my life. Obsessive compulsive. Obsessive compulsive disorder is an extreme perfectionism. All of the mental illnesses are just an extreme of a polarity of wanting, like whatever, or manifestations of the polarities of. So it's like you have a psychosis, it snaps something out of you, and you're like, you get shocked and you're just completely detached. That's an extreme form of like fear that has shocked you into a psychosis, right? And then a mania where like you're hypomanic and like full of love and like, woo, amazing. And that's an extreme form of love, but there's no balance in that energy. You're too flying off the handle and it eventually spirals out of control. Schizophrenia is like, I can't tell what's real, what's not real. I don't know what these intrusive thoughts are. I don't know what my own internal voice is and what it's not. I don't know how to quiet myself. ADHD, same thing. I don't know how to quiet myself. I don't know how to be still. I don't know how to quiet my racing thoughts. I don't know anything, right? Most of mental illness is racing thoughts and attachment to your thought. That's really all it is. And it's just different variations of what that is. And on one side of that is perfectionism, but it's okay to be a perfectionist because you're not really you're not really like obsessively, compulsively, mentally ill, are you? No. You're kind of in between. You're in between the person that's kind of balanced and that is kind of non-resistant and just kind of chills. And you're the extreme of like OCD, like obsessively, compulsively, like chasing after shit of how it needs to be. Like, I'm going to repeat this thing 3 times and I have to walk around my house 4 times before I go in the door, and I have to wash my hands 1,000 times because it's like all these variations of it, like germophobia and all these weird things, right? The mind can attach itself to anything that it perceives as being off, and then chasing perfection in it through some arbitrary standard that it comes up with, and then you internalize it and attach a belief to it, and you're like, it has to be this way. If it's not that way, then I feel like I'm powerless. So the more that I do my OCD behavior and perfectionism, the more I feel like I'm in control. And all you're doing is perpetuating this illusory control that the mind thinks it has. And that's why I tell you guys it's kind of scary when you're having your spiritual initiation and your spiritual identity crisis, because when your mind starts to dissolve, this part of you that thinks it's in control and wanting to control and wanting to know and always projecting and looking in the past and looking in the future, but very rarely being present. Because when you're present truly and there's no mind, well, then where is the mind coming in to want to control? So these parts of you that you're very used to your whole life through your conditioning start falling away, and you're like, okay, what am I left with? Oh, wait a minute. My mind's not really real in some sense. I've been thinking it's very real. All these conditioned things, parts of me that I think are me, they're not me. And then this transition point happens in spirituality, this path, where as you're letting go more and more and more of your mind, this natural process arises where you yourself, your truest self, emerges the more you let go. And then all of a sudden you're poof into yourself, which has kind of fully let go of this mind, at least its attachment to it. And now it can actually observe it in all its weird various manifestations and bizarre shit that it concocts. And then all I'm doing in these videos is analyzing different aspects of how a person's mind, manifests as suffering, as expectations, as assumption, as wanting, as waiting, as past haunting you, all its variations and all its transitional properties from attachment to mind and then no attachment to mind. And that's really all there is to it. So how do you let go of perfectionism? Again, you rest in stillness. How do you do that? Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I've talked about it enough on my videos. Well, I'm okay with my perfectionism, Darius. It's a good quality that I have. I like to think that I'm in control. And guys, all you're doing is creating more strife within your life. You're more suffering, more agitation, because you set up arbitrary standards and boundaries and ideas of what perfection is. And you're like, if I curate my reality in a specific way of what I deem perfect, and I achieve and I strive and I achieve and I keep getting these things that are perfect, then in a brief moment in time, I take a picture and it's like, look at how perfect it was. And then this is where it gets fucked up is, okay, I achieved the perfection. And then that week, that year, that month, however long you've had that perfection for, it plays out. It's fleeting. All of life is always changing. And then now that perfect moment becomes your past. It used to, and now we have nostalgia for a perfection of a moment that I thought was so perfect. So when you're the perfectionist, the nostalgia of a past perfection inevitably follows as well. Oh, look at that one time that things were so amazing. Why can't I have that one perfect moment ever again? Pining for something that's already dead and gone, existing in some illusory past, hoping and projecting into an illusory future of wanting that to recreate that same perfect past that your mind arbitrarily attached itself to. And we do this all the time, and it's very normal. We sit around, and it's basically the entire reality of this planet is projections and assumptions and expectations and waiting and wanting, and then past of like shame and guilt and regret. And then not realizing that the full spectrum of your life is happening right now in this moment, where if you were to truly let go of your mind and just observe with a conscious awareness, you would automatically see the perfection that already exists in everything. This truth, this true nature of reality, this isness, this suchness, this emptiness, this nothingness. All different words for the same thing. And at some point, like I've said with me, I got sick of chasing, it was mostly like I'm sick of how I feel about myself and my own suffering and my own depression and anxiety and my own mental illness and my own, feeling stuck in all of this shit. Well, a big part of feeding all of that stuff and that energy that I had built up, that I had to eventually purge through, a large part of it is a perfection that my mind was chasing after. There's no perfection, guys, that you think you're some perfectionist. There's no standard. There's no standard. There's no rule. There's no law that's perfect. There's no arbitrary, perfected. There is an arbitrary perfection, but I'm saying like there's no the truth of a perfection exists outside of any fixed thought. And then how much longer are you going to keep perpetuating your own misery and suffering through mental, like, it's very bizarre. It's like, it's really bizarre, man. I can't tell you guys how it feels, and I think Eckhart even talks about this in his introduction of The Power of Now. It feels like you're living an entirely new life. You don't even recognize this past person that you were. You can't even almost like relate to seeing life that way. It's like a rebirth that is truly the born again. That is truly what that is. It is the resurrection. It is because enough time passes from you having been doing this weird perfectionist mind shit all the time. Enough time passes that, and then you've lived this new reality for so long, and it's not even so long. Like for me, it's been less than a year, but it feels like a way longer time because it's so much more timeless. And as each day progresses, the more you root yourself in this new energy, which has always been with you, you just were covered up by shit and mind stuff and attachment to that. The more you day by day keep progressing on this, renewed life, then this former part of you that's in the past, obviously, as memory and experience, seems very, very alien to you. It's like, wait, I used to do that, but I see everything so clearly now. How did I ever get trapped in all of that stuff? Isn't that weird? Yeah. It's like that's what becomes weird. Not right now when you're in the muck and like you're in your suffering and you're in like this shadow period where you're cleansing yourself. The weird thing is to be truly spiritual and liberated and free and let go of the mind fully. Well, once you transition into letting go of the mind fully and resting in yourself, then the other polarity of being in the darkness and being in the shadow, that's what's weird. And then you see all of its manifestations in any reality. That's why I say, like, I see through you. I see, because it's all very patterned. It's all very repetitive, and there's only so many different ways that a mind can manifest in its duality-based conclusions and forms. And it's all very, very repetitive and tiring. It is. I would much rather let go of my mind and fully be immersed in this moment and just have fun with whatever shows up in my reality and go and do stuff and chill sometimes and do some stuff sometimes and interact with people or not interact with people, however the present moment needs to take shape. But I'm not chasing a perfection in people either. It's not like, because when you're judging someone and they should or shouldn't look a certain way, and I don't like the way they look and I don't like the way they talk and I don't like the way they do this or that, you are also a perfectionist in wanting them to look a certain way to appease your sensibilities of your egoic mind. Once you let go of the mind and all of its variations, you just naturally stop doing all this weird shit. And then it's just like so much nicer, and you're just naturally more flowing, and you appear to be more charismatic and fun and spontaneous and nice and loving, and all the good shit that your soul and your spirit naturally is. It comes to the forefront. It just can't help but express itself the way it needs to in a moment. And it's not insecure. The mind is insecure. Because, like I say, it wants to have control. It wants to appear bigger. It wants to appear better. It's always better or worse, good or bad. It's always the duality of that. And so you can always come up with a better. The standard keeps raising, and there's always a better that you're chasing after. Let go of the whole fucking standard and the whole expectation to begin with. And then the perfection naturally arises. So your control, once again, is not found in chasing a mental, control. You let go and the surrender, and then that's the true control, is the flow of whatever this moment has. That's the true control. And even that's not controlling. Because within recognizing the moment, you know you're not controlling anything, even yourself. It's almost like something's acting out through you all the time, and it's being channeled and grounded, the light energy of what you are. And that's where the magic actually happens. That's where like God is more and more and more waking people up to this very synergistic kind of my will becomes your will, God, and whatever you deem perfect in a moment is beautiful and it's blessed and it's holy and it's sanctified and you're blessing everything and you're loving everything. You know, it doesn't mean that you have to like everything, guys. It's okay if your mind personally gets triggered and wants to control something or wants it to look a certain way. It's okay, okay? But the big part of it is like within that moment of your mind popping up and labeling something, you're just watching it. It's not drawing a response out of you. It's not fucking your internal state of being up. You're not getting all, you're not creating this whole weird suffering shit anymore. And it's a much stronger, more powerful place to reside in. It's very firm. It's very rooted. This no control, lack of perfectionist mind control weird thing that it wants to do. And it's free. That's like what the true freedom is. Free, free, very free. Not self-imposed restrictions of other people and my own perception of what they are about me and I am about myself and all this weird mind stuff. No, man, no. Done with that. Like I say, 0 fucks given. Done with that shit. Done with making myself feel small and irrelevant and insignificant, you know. It's like I say, man, this whole pride thing, it's a very, this humility stuff, it's a very tricky, slippery slope and fine balance, you know. You have to fully recognize that you are nothing and that you're not, while also recognizing that on some level you are something. You're not a powerless, weak little bitch, but you're also not the most grandiose God itself. You're in between there, and all it is balancing that. And what I do in my videos is I go to one extreme and I'm like, you know, with my pride video as an example, it's going to trigger a lot of people because I'm basically calling you out. I'm calling your ego, your prideful self out, and that's what's going to get butthurt and agitated and offended. I do it that way intentionally. And then in other videos, I'm trying to prop you up and empower you and build you up. I'm trying to bring the spirit out of you. It's like, I want less ego and more spirit. I don't want too much egoism and overinflated prideful shit, wanting control, wanting judgment, wanting all of this weird shit. No, that dissipates and now your natural self arises. This merged God self energy light that you are, that animates you, that keeps you sustained. And then you naturally just start appreciating life and seeing how wondrous all of it is. And that's the perfection. That's the true perfection, is seeing the actual miracle of life playing out before you and you having the ability to interact with it and weave in and out of it, how you in a specific moment see fit and choose, as illusory as that choice may be. And it's just God wanting to participate and experience stuff through an individual focal point of a person. That's all it is. The problem is that this individual focal point through this mind becomes so far on the extreme end of mind and egoism that it like fully masks and covers up and like really loses connection to like what's actually going on here. It's like a very firm barrier between the reality itself and you, this mind. It's just mind, 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 mind. Label, 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 label. Wanting, 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 wanting to look a certain way. It's kind of weird, wouldn't you say? I would say so. I mean, it's like don't take my word for it though. Like look at it yourself. That's what this is about, man. It's like don't like, oh, Darius said this. No, Buddha said this. You know, any spiritual teacher, Eckhart Tolle said this. No. Don't prop this shit up, man. We're just, you imperfect, perfect beings that are coming to you with suggestions about how life may actually look. And then you go do your own self-examination and self-inquiry, right? Like Ramana Maharshi's self-inquiry. You eliminate this I, you eliminate this mind, you dissolve it. And then these realizations come into you on your own. And it's like, oh, I agree. Well, how could you not agree? It's so truthful. That's why you can never disagree with true truth. It makes sense. There's no arguing with it. All we're doing out here is arguing. It's like when you're chasing perfection and control, you're arguing with the nature of reality and how it's actually playing out. It's the most futile, like resistant, like bitch way to live. It really is. So like, let go of it. Let go of this perfection and control, and then what you're gonna see is that the perfection and control that you were chasing, that naturally starts arising in this weird kind of like dichotomy, paradoxical way where like I let go, it happens more for me. This thing. It's almost like, oh wait a minute. God already knew what I was supposed to have, because that's how it could only ever be. It's part of the destiny part. It's like every step that I take is perfectly guided. It's like firmly planted. I take a step, the next moment's unfolding, right? It's not like weird, trippy shit's happening. It's not like, Earth is crumbling around me in my reality. No, it's all being perfectly sustained in a moment. Life continues on. The sun rises, the sun sets, right? Like life, the stars are out there, like moving around, doing whatever. And we're all fully like immersed in all of these things. And it's all perfectly, like amazingly guided by this invisible and visible force. It's like at first you think God's invisible, right? Like this is where a lot of the trick happens, is that everyone thinks that God's like this unseen only. No, God isn't only God is also in the seen. Very much. It's all around you. And that's why it's like I want to appreciate this God loving father energy, like my father in heaven kind of idea, right? It's like, hey man, like, wow, you did a good job setting this life up with all of its amazingness, as trippy and weird as it may be from time to time, and as baited and attached and suffering and fear and pain I may experience in my life. Yeah, I mean, all of that's needed. It's how you learn. It's how you learn. Now, are you willing to learn to let go, to then step more and more into your truest self, which is what you're chasing after with all this perfection and control? So all you're doing is chasing an illusory perfection when the perfection has already been in front of you, hiding in plain sight.